Hi, this is Dr. Topper, Global Pharmacovigilance Director at Oracle Health Science Consulting. In this video, we'll first look at data entry. What are some of the efficiencies that can be gained back in data entry? So let's look at what comes under the purview of data entry. We're talking about taking the raw source document and putting it into the database. So you have a data entry functionality, and you also have a triage, because then you have to indicate if it's an adverse event that you must act on, if it's a combination of an adverse event and a medical inquiry, or a product complaint, medical inquiry, adverse event. Those are your three choices. And depending on what you choose, you may already have an automated email workflow system that will send it out to the stakeholders, or you may have to manually push it out to them. So the triage function and then the actual data elements entry function to create a case that can then be worked on is what constitutes data entry. Now, what are some of the things that you can do to have a more efficient data entry? Well, you may already be using this, but there is something to avoid bottlenecks, which is you can have a more streamlined data entry where you have already indicated whether it is an adverse event or a serious adverse event from looking at the source. And then the serious adverse events take a little bit more time to put in the data. The adverse events take a little less time to put in the data. So that is something where you can have an internal management flow system, but that would require that you have some resources at data entry. Let's say if you want to keep the resources to a low, what would you do in data entry? Or what could you do in data entry without automations? So without automations, you can then catalog the way the data is coming in. So you can have your SAE file, which is already in a pre-designed template that comes in, that readies it for an automated tool. You can also have your call center, if you're employing a call center, to route it directly into the booking screen of the safety database, if you so choose. If you have control of your call center portality of its databases, of course. Now, what would you do, or what could you do in an automated function? Well, there's an automation that exists that can look at the case and determine the triage of that case, whether it's a medical review, an adverse event, or a product complaint, or a combination thereof. So that automation certainly exists. That's been around for quite a bit. Many of the databases on the market would be able to supply this automation. And that would be a great time saver, because then it would use the parameters that you normally would use, the 4 elements and criteria of a case and whatnot. The second automation that you could use in data entry and triage is that you can actually take an OCR process, optical character recognition. It's a technology that's been around for many years. It has been perfected to its peak now. And it will simply scan the document. It could be a PDF document, it could be a Word document, it could be even an email with an attachment, but it will scan it and then deposit the terms in the like fields. Now, of course, there is some technical mapping that takes place behind the scenes to set this up, but then it becomes a rote process. Every time it scans a document, it knows that this is an alphanumerical field in which to deposit in, and it deposits it. So it's a simplified mapping behind the scenes, but at the forefront, you're doing OCR character recognition. So those are some of the 2 areas, with automations, without automations, some things you can do to speed up, to prevent bottlenecks in your data entry function. This is Dr. Topper for Oracle Health Science Consulting. Do join me again for the next in this series, talking about automations and efficiencies gained in case workflow steps.